All right, let's do it live on a Victory Monday edition of the program. It was a victory. It was a victory. It is a Victory Monday, sir.
It is a Victory Monday. Right off with the demerit. Listen, sometimes it's not always
for
pretty.
me, baby. Welcome back, Demerit
It's not
City.
always pretty, but it counts all the same. Yeah, give me a nice demerit. That's
so
fine.
happy.
Not going to lie.
Listen,
I literally walked around and made sure both mics were off in the hopes that this would happen, and it did.
Demerit has been recorded.
That's right. That's fine. It's my COVID brain. I'm back. It's been a while. It's been a while since
Yeah,
I've been
you
in this
have.
studio.
It's good. It's good to see you, brother. It's been a while since you have. And,
Yeah, it's good to be seen.
You were out there in lovely conditions last night, yesterday afternoon, rather.
Build a dome.
Build
Let's go.
Get the
Let's
kid
get
a dome. Let's dome it up, baby.
Dome it up.
Look,
We
this
beat them
is,
by 20 in a dome.
We do, yeah. You and I were talking before the show started that what conditions do is they take when there is a talent advantage and they evens the playing field.
Yep.
It makes two teams, when talent doesn't equate, play closer to the middle. When you have known conditions, the team with the most talent mostly wins. It's pretty straightforward.
Right.
And we have a lot of talent. And so, yes, you're right. It would. Unfortunately, we can't build a dome in 2 weeks.
No.
So that's the way it's going to go. We'll be out there in the cold and the rain, and that's part of it. And it was all of those things. I think one thing that we have to realize about this NFL season, the 17 weeks, it's a real thing. The 17 weeks are a real thing. This league right now, this is the third consecutive weekend. There was time going into the game last night, and I think it would have held true, where not a single division leader won their game.
That's right.
Everybody lost. Everybody lost all day long. Not only did many of them lose, many of them didn't cover. They did not cover. This is the third straight week where I feel like this league doesn't know what it is right now. And I don't know if it's the 17th game that's added to it. I don't know if people dealing with COVID is added to it. But there is a week-to-week uncertainty of this league I've never seen before, ever. Never seen it. And you don't know what type of performance you're going to get. Folks, everyone's watching our game, obviously. Houston was out 16-0 on Tennessee in their Houston. Indianapolis slumped the Bills, hammered them.
Yep.
Dallas, a week after scoring 1,000, can't score any against the Chiefs, who hadn't stopped anybody. So there's nothing you can count on week to week. So do we have issues? Yeah, we do. There's no question. Offensively, we got issues. There's no doubt about it. But what I would say is, so does a lot of the league. And if you get a dub, then that's what matters most.
Everybody's got issues right now.
Everybody.
Right, and guess what? This win counts the same as the win in Cincinnati, which we would have said was our best game. We needed to win this game. As I said, we would learn very little about our team from a win, although in this case I think we learned that we've got to get a lot better in a hurry. And we're there. We're at 6-5 with 4 games left in the division, 2 against the Baltimore Ravens in consecutive weeks with a bye in between. You win those, we're off to the races. So it's all right there for this football team. Does it feel good? No. Does it look good? No. Does it inspire a lot of confidence? No. But what I would say to you is, what game inspired the most confidence in you all season? The boat racing in Cincy? Because that got followed up by a complete beating at the hands of the New England Patriots. So what?
Yeah.
This league is nuts. The Titans lost to the Texans.
Lost. And they were getting drilled.
Lost.
Like
drilled.
They lost the game, and they were being drilled by the Texans.
That's
like
right.
Week to week. I can't make sense of it week to week. Nobody can. So you just want to just take the demerit recorded, put it on the left side of the column, take the dub, and move on. Now you got a week to sort things out. And there are some things that need to be sorted out. One other thing that I want to get into right off the gates, and you probably heard Baker on RBS right before we started. One thing I would say, and I've seen this going around, there is this notion that there is some sort of agenda. Baker Mayfield is playing because he's cleared to play by our medical staff and is ready to go. That's why he's playing.
Yes.
He's not being put in harm's way. He's not being played out of spite. I mean, that is just such a bunch of nonsense. It's all over. I'm telling you. He is cleared by our medical staff to play. Baker's a gamer. He wants to play. He's healthy enough to play. That's why he's playing. That's it. There's nothing else to it other than that. He's healthy and he's playing. Healthy enough to play. No one's 100% right now. Nobody is. Rodgers did not practice all last week. He's not practicing all this week with the toe injury.
No, what did he throw for 4 touchdowns and 400 yards or whatever it was in that loss? Dome also, yes.
Dome, yeah.
Fact.
But I've seen this going around like that just couldn't be more, and it's leading to just nonsense. And there's just a lot of nonsense out there that couldn't be further from the truth. So that's the other thing I would say. He is healthy enough to play or else he wouldn't be playing.
Yeah. And
Period.
you watched him run. He ran a couple of times and was able to pick up some yards. You watched him make big-time throws to Jamarcus Bradley, to Jarvis. He missed a lot of throws. I don't know if you watched any of the Seattle-Arizona game. Russ is missing throws. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, he was brutal.
But he is not playing, as he said in that, to his standard. He didn't hide behind injuries. He is toughing it out. He's not executing as well as he is capable of executing. It's just that simple. Of course, injuries are going to affect things. Of course they are. And he's going through that. But to the notion that he's not capable of playing, I'm stunned that's even – maybe I'm missing that somehow. Maybe that's not getting into my
it's there,
timeline,
baby. It's
I know
all
our
out there.
fans are up in arms. Look, we won a game we had to win. Was it pretty? No. Was it confidence-inspiring? No. If we can go to Baltimore and handle our business, we're going to be just fine. If we can't, that's going to be that. But this football team is still talented. It's just got to, and that's been the name of the game all year. You got to execute better. And that means mental execution. All the penalties again? Like, come on. We've got to clean that up.
Yeah.
We are not playing up to our potential as a football team. And I'm amazed how many people, I think that there is if people who watch the tape consistently, I do not believe would put the onus for what's going on as an offense on our coach. I know the numbers aren't good. We haven't scored, more than 17 in like 6 of our last 8 games.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah.
We aren't a good offense.
Well, no, but let's also take him into account who is not here at wide receiver. I mean, that's pretty valid. You know, the other thing that hasn't been here in several weeks that maybe, knock on plexiglass, will be here this week is Kareem Hunt.
Yep.
He's a bit of a game changer, okay? He hasn't been here in a while. He changes what you can do. Odell Beckham Jr. changed what you could do because people had to pay attention to him. Right now, we do not have anybody who scares anybody deep. Donovan Peoples-Jones did not play in this game. We are a compressed offense. It is easy to make us play in a sandbox because we don't have anything that we can hit down the field. So all of these things tie together, though. They all tie together. They're all there. And the good news is that Nick Chubb is on this football team.
Thank goodness.
And so give thanks to number 24 because he finished with, 130?
Yeah.
He had 3 10-plus yard runs called back because of holdings.
Yes.
He would have had 170, 160 in this game. And when it came time to go win the damn game, give him the ball.
Of course.
Give employee 24 the ball. Watch what he can do.
He's sensational. Dearness ran well in his limited opportunities. Nick Chubb we can still run the football. Nick Chubb is great. And, yes, having him back is massive. The issue right now that we face, and, people, why don't we run the ball more? Why don't we run the ball? Number one, you got to be able to extend drives. You got to be good on third downs. We still, even in this game, again, another win, we were not good on third down, 5 of 13. We did better than they did. They were 3 of 11, so good job by our defense. But we still weren't a great third down team in this game. And you've got to have some threat of the pass. I mean, you go and you put this tape on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 8 or 9 guys in the box, the vast majority of plays. And so when that's happening, they're saying we do not respect your team's ability to throw the football. And right now, we are not making teams pay for that lack of respect. And until we do, we are not going to be a high-scoring offense. I mean, it's really that simple. We're just not.
No.
We can be effective with the things that we do very, very well. And that right now was given to Nick Chubb. I think, watching this one, I thought Austin Hooper played a great, great role, especially in the first half of this game. It felt like he was very involved, and the Browns were really trying to get him the ball. He had 4 catches for 53 yards in the first half on 6 targets. He would finish the game with 7 targets. So he got 1 more target the entire rest of the game. I kind of think let Austin Hooper be the guy he was in Atlanta for a little bit. Lean on him. He knows how to get open. He ran a stick jerk route that the ball didn't go to him down near the red zone that I wish it had, but nonetheless, it was a good read by Baker. There was a throw that was made to Jarvis. We drew the penalty on it. He was wide open. I mean, he's running good routes. He's catching the football. I just think there's a lot of stuff that is out there for this football team, and we've got to take advantage of it, and we've got to use what we've got to the best of our ability. And offensively, it just isn't pretty. We're not a good offensive team, and you need – in 2021 in the National Football League, I think it is a heck of a lot easier to win as a good offensive team than it is any other way. It's too hard to play defense consistently.
And I think, you think about what you were able to do last year offensively and the way that you played in the, after the Cincinnati game going forward offensively, and you think about how dynamic that we were. You think about all of the things that Kevin Stefanski would do week in and week out to generate dynamic plays. I think that there was a feeling, in this offseason that Anthony Schwartz would provide some of that when you draft him where you draft him, that Odell Beckham certainly would provide some of that home run hitting. We kept saying the only thing you're missing is the home run ball. That was it, just the deep ball, have it somebody who could stretch the field. And Schwartz hasn't been much of a factor at all.
No, he won that first game, and that was it.
That was it. And obviously Odell Beckham Jr. isn't here anymore. And you didn't play yesterday without Donovan Peoples-Jones. So these are things that are finite that aren't going to be fixed. So you can still accomplish everything you want with what you have. It's just going to be in a lot of games probably like this. It's hard for me to imagine that the explosiveness is going to show up in the middle of this stretch run. Now you got a bye week that maybe you can manufacture it, but there are some finite deals in terms of what you have at receiver and the struggles that we've had in the passing game that you think it's hard to probably get that fixed in a week, even if, as Baker says, him and Stefanski go to Maldives, which I've heard is nice.
I bet it's wonderful. It is.
Probably this time of year. You think it's sun shining there in the Maldives?
I think it's better than this.
Got to be.
Got to be. We are still a team that can accomplish everything that it wanted to accomplish at the beginning of this season. What we need to do is we just need to be unbelievably efficient. And I'll give you an example. Now, do we have a Deebo Samuel here right now, the way that he's playing, or even a Brandon Ayuk and Kittle? No, we don't necessarily have those guys, but you watch Jimmy Garoppolo, and you can see Baker Mayfield is clearly more physically gifted than Jimmy Garoppolo is as a quarterback. But what Jimmy Garoppolo is right now is incredibly efficient. The ball goes where it's supposed to go. It's on time. It's accurate. And you can be decent in those with that as an offense and a good run game. That's what the Niners have. Mm-hmm. We just have to at least have the layups be layups. Mm-hmm. And we've just struggled. I thought, look, Baker from his eyes and seeing the field, this was a better performance. The Lions did not do much, post-snap disguise, and I thought that he was very smart with football. He just flat out missed throws, and a number of them that NFL quarterbacks typically don't miss, certainly not a quarterback of his caliber.
No, and that's why I think the frustration, he addressed it today,
yeah,
is that it's there. With all of that being said, we're having these conversations amidst a win.
Which is great.
Which is what's important. And so you get that win, you get to 6-5, and now we know what's ahead of us. You got back-to-back games with the Ravens with a bye week in between. So that tells you where you're at. You know exactly what's going to be required the rest of the way here. You won't play two bigger games in the next two. That's it. They're the front-running team in the division. You got them twice in 3 weeks. You got a bye week in between. You get here at 6-5. Everything that you want to accomplish, i.e., most importantly, winning the division, it's there. The playoffs are there. The teams that you play going forward, every single one of them's in the mix. Every single one of them is going to be in the mix. I don't know if the Raiders will be by the time you play them, but everybody else will be in the mix by the time that you play them. So it's all there.
Yep.
And hopefully you're getting healthy. Coach, this was really important in the last half hour when Coach addressed the media. Kareem Hunt and Jack Conklin returning to practice this week. That's huge.
Yep.
That is huge. If we can get those two back. Now, are they both back by the Ravens game? Who knows? But returning to practice is a big deal. So that helps a lot. I think Kareem, even as much for his absurd talent, but he's just such a spark plug. He's like such an emotional player. Like, people just love him, follow him. It's infectious, his personality, and I think it's been missed big time. I don't know if we've given it quite the respect that it has needed based on what his loss has been. But in the end, it is a win. And that's the most important thing. And now you go into Baltimore, which will be an absolutely monster game. Lots to get to on this front. And with yesterday's win, Tito's Handmade Vodka proud to support the Cleveland Browns through the Tito's Victory Vodka program with a $1,000 donation to Wags for Warriors. They help provide service dogs for veterans at no cost to the veteran. Thank you, Tito's. Remember, please enjoy Tito's Handmade Vodka responsibly. Sponsored by Tito's Handmade Vodka, 80 proof. Tito's Handmade Vodka, 40% alcohol by volume, distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas, and crafted to be savored responsibly. Those were your OBM Hot Topics. Ohio Business Machine, preferred copier provider of your Cleveland Browns. They have all the X's and O's for your office. Call 216-485-2000 or visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. Remember, the second hour of the program is the Joe Thomas Hour. We'll get the Hoff's opinion on all of this. You'll hear from Coach Stefanski, hear some of that Baker press conference as well. Lots to get to, off and running on a Victory Monday. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. The mattresses, Northeast Factory Direct really outdid themselves. They searched the entire country. They found the best factory, the best warranties, and now they have the latest technology and mattresses for a fraction of the cost. During Northeast Factory Direct's garage sale, you can find a queen pillow top mattress starting at just $399, a double-sided pillow top at $699, and when you buy that queen prestige mattress at $699 or king prestige mattress at $799, you're getting a bundle of free stuff, a set of sheets, 2 pillows, a mattress protector. Even got these Comfort Cool mattresses, premium hybrid mattresses that have all natural, cold face covers, layers of airflow through the foam. Keep you comfortable while you're sleeping. Check them out, West 140th Street in Cleveland, Lakeland Boulevard in Euclid, or Freeway Drive in Macedonia. Or shop them online anytime at northeastfactorydirect.com. Speaking of comfortable, did you watch Freddie Funkhauser last night? Enjoy your mango habaneros.
I'm just enjoying the wares from Buffalo Wild Wings.
Oh, yeah.
Boy, are they delightful.
Here, tell the
mango.
people about some of the various menu items that are here.
Would you guys like to know what's going on right here? All right, listen. I know you like B-dubs. We love B-dubs. So here you go. For the holidays, you ready? Every $30 gift card purchase, you receive a Blazin' bonus card. They're valued at a minimum of 5, a maximum of 100. Values vary. Hope you get a lucky one. It's like ripping a pack as a kid. Do you get a Joe Montana rookie, or do you get some Bubkiss Steve Young? Hosting a holiday get-together. Many of us are. Friendsgiving, for example. The Buffalo Wild Wings party menu is an excellent addition to any celebration. It can be found and ordered at buffalowildwings.com. Delivery is available through the website. Some restrictions do apply. Not to mention, host it there. Several B-dubs also have private party rooms. Contact your local location about hosting your party at Buffalo Wild Wings. So here's what we got today in front of you. Some Asian zing. Yes, please. Mango habanero. Ooh, the sweet heat. God, you got to love it. Oh, the Nashville hot chicken sandwich with fries. Guess what? That didn't even make it out here. Gibby, over my shoulder, chowing down.
On what? Wait, what'd I eat?
The Nashville
hot chicken.
I haven't eaten it.
You will.
Oh, here, Colleen's going to
What
run
about
it
a
out to you.
smoked brisket burger?
You're safe.
Are you having the smoked brisket burger?
I'm not eating anything right now. I'm looking at all your
the
food. I put it all
Nashville
on
hot.
there.
Would you look at that? I mean, what a bun. Let me just.
It's a brioche.
It is a brioche, and there's just some hot sauce in there and some breaded. Some slaw pickles. You name it, it's in there. Pickled hot peppers. Oh boy, and then the smoked brisket burger with buffalo wedges. It's a double patty, hand smashed, Beau. Did that go over the air? Give it.
I don't think so.
Good. I happen to think it's more than that. I think it's better than Gibbe's review. I'm just kidding. That wasn't his review. But it is a hand-smashed, smoked pulled brisket, sweet barbecue, grilled onions, pickles on a challah bun. Challah, if you hear me. Buffalo chicken tots, fried pickles, the whole deal. It's all going on right now. And I'll tell you, these wings are good. Nay, they're great. And on a Victory Monday, ooh, do they taste delightful. It's glorious.
All right.
Good news, kids. All good.
All right, good. We verified. Good.
Jeez.
Otherwise,
Woo.
oh boy, little
Oh,
3-point.
boy.
There's
that was
way
a lot
too much
going on.
going on here today, kids.
Yeah.
Let's
A lot of
way
buttons
too
to
much.
Good thing
get
we
in.
got that dump button, right?
Oh, did you need it?
Maybe, maybe not.
Oh.
Saved
Hey,
by the dump.
Pauls,
Wow.
Pauls, you might, maybe get a little swag sent your way.
I
out of
think
that.
you
That's
should
pretty
ask-
good save out of you.
I think Gibbe needs to get you a B-Dubs package.
I think that's true.
I'm all down for a B-Dubs pack. Why not?
Yeah, maybe
think you're
a
right.
$14.99 Browns bundle, 6 wings, fries, and a Browns glass.
I'm
know,
down for
Gibbe.
that.
Yeah, we got to take. Well, that was a good save. Good save.
Kick,
Eck-
save, and a butte.
Eck would be proud. Eck would be proud on that one. That was a good job.
Don't even bring up Kirk Gibson. Don't want to hear about it. Don't even want to hear it. I grew up in
anything up.
California. I'm a Dodgers fan.
I didn't bring that up. I wasn't bringing anything up. No, I don't even know. I was not going to talk about any of that. I mean, I grew up with the A's, going with my dad to A's games. Why would I bring that
Oh,
up?
the Bash Brothers?
Would never bring that up. Look, the positives here. Gibbe goes. This is what it says. It goes. Positives from Sunday. Well, the dub is the positive.
That's all that
'Cause
matters.
it's all that matters. That's where you're at. You ran it 36 times for 184. Like I mentioned, there were several plays called back. Nick Chubb averaged 6 yards a run.
Run.
He averaged 6 yards a run. He just shows up. When he puts on the uniform, he shows up and delivers. And it was one of those things. I will say, I'm so befuddled and thankful for Dan Campbell doing what he did, punting with over 2.5 minutes to go in the game, barely over 2.5 minutes to go in the game. He punts it, obviously thinking he's getting the ball back. But then what was so crazy about it was he didn't use the timeouts before the 2-minute warning. Like, if you're going to do that strategy, then you have to use the timeouts.
Okay.
Well, you have to get a stop, first of all, knowing that the other team has Nick Chubb, which is why I just would have gone for it to begin with. But if you're going to do that, then you have to use the timeouts before the 2-minute warning.
Okay. So Gibbe, I don't know if he's putting out fires or not, but Gibbe, yesterday I have the open mic. I was screaming at Gibbe. He's never played Madden.
No, he's not.
Dan Campbell has never played Madden.
If he'd played Madden, he would use his timeouts.
All before the 2-minute warning.
Always.
Guess what? The play we picked up the first down on, he went out of bounds. So he would have gone out of bounds. You still would have had the 2-minute warning. Saving it till after the 2-minute warning, you know what the logic is? I finally have heard it, is that if I have the timeout before the 2-minute warning, it's only saving like 6 seconds. So if I take one at 2:15 and then one at 2:06, I'm only getting 6 seconds per timeout. But if I take it after the 2-minute warning, I saved 45 seconds. What are we doing? How do you do that? It's insane. If you had stopped him, if they had stopped the Browns on that first one, they would have gotten the ball back prior to the 2-minute warning with the stoppage. The way that he had it set up, they couldn't have got it back prior to the 2-minute warning and without any possible natural stoppage of the clock.
No.
It was – look, they were bad. Tim Boyle turned in.
They're bad.
I mean,
they have 2 studs. They got a good offensive line.
Swift is a beast.
Swift's a beast. Hawkinson's a beast. And they got a good offensive line. Sewell played well. Their offensive line played well. And I think they've got something to build upon there. And Swift is a stud. But they have nothing at receiver, and Boyle is as what we thought he would be, frankly.
The best was I heard Lions fans pregame because, as you know, you noticed he wore number 12. People were chanting TB12 at him prior to the game.
Yeah.
Not.
But honestly, even if they had TB12 with those receivers, it's tough. He was bad.
If they had TB12 versus Tim Boyle, you don't think there would have been any difference in the performance of that offense?
Of course, but I mean, their skill position
Josh Reynolds
is bad.
is all right. Josh Reynolds can be all right for them.
He had nothing.
Zero.
Zilch.
I mean, they threw it to him.
3 times. Yeah.
Tim Boyle, that was not professional football.
No.
It was a bad brand of football, and yet it was close because Swift busted off a 55-yard touchdown run. And you're right, not going what I didn't understand was, forget the timeout mismanagement. Not going for it on 4th and 1 when you're a winless team.
Crazy.
Kicking a 50-yard field goal.
I have no idea what you're
doing. Then punting the ball back with 2 minutes left to a team that is built.
That has Nick Chubb.
That's built to run that clock out.
Yeah, that's right.
That's literally what we're built to do.
Yeah. One of the highlights for me of the game, Gibby wanted to ask about positives. So we had a basketball game at 2 o'clock.
I know. I wasn't getting a steady stream from
I
you.
know.
It made me feel
I'm sorry. So I stayed away from it, and then I realized it's impossible. So I rewatched the game on DVR last night. But in terms of watching it live, I really didn't get a chance to until the 4th quarter. I saw the 4th quarter live. But other than that, it was taped. So en route to Cleveland Heights for the game, I'm listening to you guys on the radio. And let's just say this to my friend on the left. I don't know that there is anybody who does more with that position than you do, from the standpoint of the amount of information you convey in what I feels like 45 seconds, 35, 45 seconds.
Way less
I know you're
than
on
that. I wish it was 45. That
It's
would feel
tight.
like I was talking for
You
a year.
are. Maybe it's 20. I don't know. But the amount of information feels like a minute's worth of information in 30 seconds, and it's all relevant. It's pertinent stuff that is interesting, that changes the way you view the game. But there is a moment when a fight breaks out, and Donovan's describing the play, and Deke is quick to say that there's a fight at midfield. A Donnybrook is broken out. Donovan hops all over it, and that is a ball between the three of you. And then you come on as well with Fight Night with Deke and all of this.
The fight doctor.
That was just such a strong 40. I enjoyed that thoroughly. And knowing you all even adds to it. But that was a really fun minute and a half on the – so you want positives. The radio broadcast of this football team is very, very – that's a good time. That's a very good time.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. And that was in that moment in particular was a pretty good time. Another highlight, if I could give a personal one, is that yesterday, guess who I got to meet and take a picture with?
I have no idea.
Jade McRae.
Yes.
Yeah.
Will we be hearing her jingle in the 2
the
o'clock
real,
hour, I wonder?
The real Jade Mack. Yeah, and she was right above us. They were right above us, and got to go up and take some photos, and it was a great time. I couldn't have had more fun, and getting to meet them was tremendous.
Yeah, that's great. So those are some of the positives from this thing. Gibby's in there entertaining his people. Do we have Coach next? Is that what we're doing?
Yes, we
Very
have
good.
Coach next.
All right.
I promise.
Do you hear what I said? I
lot
just
going on.
complimented your broadcast.
Yeah.
I just complimented your radio
Yeah,
broadcast.
I don't do anything.
No, you're
Oh,
Geppetto.
stop it.
You're Geppetto.
I have to listen to Zegura in my ear with a sideshow. He's doing a Manning cast in my ear for 3 hours.
There's a lot going
Too
on.
bad it's not over the air. It's dynamite. You're
No,
getting
I
gold.
don't think you
Dynamite.
want some of that.
You're getting gold.
I think some of that people don't want.
The highlight of the whole thing was the fight when Deke saw the fight before Jim did, and Deke's excitement about the fight, and then the back and forth, and then Z came in. That was just tremendous radio. I just appreciated that. It was just so funny.
The fight
to,
doctor.
to listen to all of that. It was absolutely great. All right, we'll hear from Coach coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. EOX Vantage has the local presence with the global footprint, trusted by some of the world's biggest brands. Here's a testimonial from EOX Vantage client Ed Shield. He's the vice president of Skyward Specialty Insurance. The tools we've designed with EOX Vantage are real business changers that open the door for us to all sorts of valuable opportunities and efficiencies. They help our team members stay on the same page while collaborating remotely, make it easy to communicate with customers, cut way down on manual data entry and associated input errors, and cut hours off processes and response times. Operationally is a brand new ballgame for us, and it can be for you too. I encourage you to learn more about EOX Vantage by visiting www.eoxvantage.com or call 216-298-1616. And now here's your head coach, Kevin Stefanski, at the podium.
Okay.
You guys are down 5:30.
Real updates came out of the game okay. And then, looking forward, should be able to get Kareem and Jack back for practice this week at some point. And then on the game, hard fought. Good to get a win at home. Always things that we can clean up and we can be better as coaches, players, as a team. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to look at those things and that we can improve, and then knowing we got a big one this week. But first things first, we got to make sure that we look at the tape and find some areas that we can get better. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Hey, Kevin, with Kareem and Jack, do you have a certain level of hope or optimism that they would be able to play in Baltimore, or is this just kind of an ease back in week?
Yeah, I don't know if I have a number for you, but yeah, I'm hopeful. I think they're both progressing well.
Okay. And, yesterday after the game, Baker did some uncharacteristic things. He went straight to the locker room instead of, shaking hands on the field, with teammates and with Lions players. And then he, for the first time, didn't talk to us as a media corps after the game. Did you talk to him about that? And do you have a sense, what he was going through after the game in terms of frustration?
Yeah, I did talk to him. I know you guys are going to get a chance to talk to him, and I think he can probably explain it better than I. But it's something that I know he's frustrated, but ultimately he wants to win. He's a great teammate. He's loyal to his teammates. So I think he can explain it better than I do.
Do you care that he didn't address the media?
Well, I think all of our guys know what their responsibilities are, and we expect them to follow through with their responsibilities. But again, he's going to talk to you guys today, and I think he can explain that.
Thanks, Rob. Thank you, Kevin. Kevin, second half, I think 4 punts, interception, penalty yardage. Looking at the tape, what was the biggest issue offensively?
I think the penalties. We didn't stay on track. We beat ourselves too often. And then the giveaway there, that's just we did some things that are going to prevent you from scoring any second half points, and that's what happened. We got to score points. We have to score more points, period. I think you know that. But even in that second half, we got to go find a way to score some points, and we didn't do that, and especially operationally with those penalties that they really hurt us.
Yeah, Kevin, obviously we'll get a chance to talk to Baker later, but just from your standpoint, do you feel like you're beginning the week with Baker in a worse spot than he was going into that game, just because, it looked like he was hobbling so much out there in that game?
Yeah, I wouldn't characterize it as a worse spot. I think, we've talked about this. He's talked about it. He's battling. He doesn't feel 100%. And I don't know many guys that do feel 100% at this point, but he's definitely battling.
And then when you kind of look at the offense as a whole, Kevin, did you see other guys stepping up when, Baker was kind of out there, it seemed like on one leg at one point?
Yeah, I thought there were really some good moments. I mean, if you watch the game, the guys are making effort plays all over the field, had some big plays down the field that we hit. The run game was hitting, especially in that second half. So good moments, and it's never for lack of effort. I think the guys are flying around.
Hey, Coach, as much as the trouble in the second half on offense, it had to be satisfying the last 2.5 minutes when everybody knew you were going to run. You were able to get 3 first downs and run out the clock. Can you just address that? Coming together exactly when you needed there.
Yeah, that was in those moments the guys played. They played great, and just watching it with the guys just now, it's the tight ends at the point of attack. It's the receivers getting involved in the run game. It's obviously the line moving people. Nick is making great runs. Dearness is making great runs. Baker's getting us in and out of good runs. So it really was a collective effort there, especially late in the ball game.
Yeah, Kevin, I want to ask you about Baker's bone bruises. It was reported before the game that he's got a bone bruise in his heel and he's got a bone bruise in his knee. And so my question is, have they just basically, similar to the shoulder, that a week off or whatever just ain't going to make it better anyway? And so that's why it's okay for him to play? Yeah, I mean, just watching him physically struggle out there at times to move around, it's hard to miss. So people are asking, why is he out there if he's having this much pain?
Yeah, I think
Back in 30.
Daryl, and we'll always defer to the medical staff and making sure that a guy is ready to go. Obviously, have discussions with the players in that same vein. We won't put guys out there that can't protect themselves. To say that Baker's not battling, I think you all know that. But he's ready to play and ready to help the team win. But we'll always have those conversations week to week.
You're up.
All right, there's Coach Stefanski at the podium from earlier today. There's a lot of good news here. Number one, you win, and we'll have the Hoff on in about 12 minutes, so that's very positive. You win to get to 6-5. The Chargers do you a little bit of help with how they took care of business last night. Not enough for the scores, sadly.
Ugh, and they had
Gross.
it.
They had it.
They're up 17 in the fourth quarter.
Awful, just awful. You have that. The Ravens, without Lamar, win in Chicago. Brutal. And then the Bengals looked good coming off of the bye week against the Raiders. So this win was critical. It was critical for everything that you're trying to play for. You still have one with Pittsburgh, one with Cincinnati, 2 for Baltimore coming up next. So everything is on the table. You also get the added good news of Jack Conklin back at practice, Kareem Hunt back at practice, and theoretically, fingers crossed, as getting healthy. Sounds like JOK is going to be good to go this weekend, Coach said, so that's very, very
great
positive.
Because you need his speed.
I was worried about that a lot.
I was too, and it was the same ankle, and he was flying around. You see the difference that he makes, and he's a guy that, he gets fired up for his teammates too. On the Malcolm Smith interception, he was kind of like, he was in the big cape, and he was like flapping his wings like a vulture running down going, oh, oh, oh. He was very excited. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed his passion. It was like, oh, oh.
That was good.
It is good.
You like those? You like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It reminded me of my post-scoring dance in college when I would make baskets and then run down the court.
Would you give it a little of that?
Oh, after every
Let
shot.
that go?
Oh,
That's nice. Very nice. So that's where you are.
I would have gotten a lot of taunting penalties in today's NFL because apparently just doing this.
You're talking about that was the Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
That's right.
For the Chiefs, yeah.
That's right.
That's it. This is a taunting.
He might have been saying, hey, I'm in, don't hit me.
Don't hit me, I'm in.
I'm in.
I'm in.
I'm in.
I got it.
Yeah.
So let's throw a flag. Teach the kids.
There could be a huge brawl. Oh, boy.
But that's only in the NBA. Did you see the LeBron brawl yesterday?
Okay.
Holy cow.
That was like a pro wrestling brawl where they keep pulling the guy away and he keeps breaking free, and then he pull him away and he keeps breaking free. And then the fact that he tried to go through the tunnel and around to come out the other door, that was his last effort, was incredible. Look, that guy, LeBron wanted no part of it. LeBron and Anthony Davis planted themselves firmly behind officials. The only guy on the Lakers who looked like he was ready to step up for his teammates was Russ, because Russ is a gladiator.
Yeah, right.
They even assessed. Do you know that Russ got a technical in all of that?
No, I did not realize that.
He didn't know it either until the post game, and they're like, "You got a technical." He's like, "What are you talking about?" And then he looked at the things. He's like, "What? I guess I did."
Wow. And those accumulate, and he gets them sometimes, so that could end up hurting them. They're terrible. But, yeah, it was worthy of it. I mean, LeBron, it was an absolute forearm shiver. There's no question. It was worthy of the man's reaction. I mean, the guy wouldn't stop, but it was an absolute cheap shot.
Yes. It was.
He's the instigator of it.
No doubt. No doubt. He's the instigator. The other guy was the victim. I mean, I'm sure he was trying to just get his arm off him, but he looked at him, so I felt like it was a well-placed shot. Obviously, I don't think he meant to get, as they would say in the great show, Deadwood, the color.
No.
But he did get quite a bit of that. It was a wild scene, man.
It was a wild
Like
scene,
that guy came unglued.
Yeah.
He was ready. He was ready to brawl. Like he was, and I don't think that he was going to lose. He did not look like a man who was going to be losing a fight anytime soon. He looked like a man who was going to win.
No, I think he was going to win. And the Lakers used to always have a Morris brother, so you had somebody.
DeAndre Jordan was there. He was trying to give him a little
in the mix. You got to have a heavy somewhere.
I don't know that he's a heavy.
I don't know that he is either. I know the Morrises are, and one of those guys is always ready, so you got to have one of those guys in the mix.
Listen, there's a reason that the Jokic brothers and the Morris brothers feels like a pay-per-view worthy event.
I would pay to see. I would pay to see that. Did you see Curb last night? Did we discuss this?
So I've not watched Curb.
You have not watched
no.
Or Succession?
And I heard that they answered my
Succession.
my call.
Succession is a Pantheon episode.
Okay.
I would say. I think it's one of the 5 best episodes of the series.
Okay.
At this point.
And I don't know anything about it, but I was reading and some tweeting. I think it was Axelrod actually tweeted out that they pivoted and now you know what the plot is, as opposed to spinning wheels forever, which I'm thrilled with. That was my complaint. Like, what is this show about anymore?
Yeah, I mean, well, you haven't seen it, so we can discuss
Yeah.
it. I don't want to do anything. I just want you to go into it as relatively blind as you can, and a pretty dang good Curb too. Pretty dang good Curb.
On the level of last week?
No. Last week's was so ambitious. Like it wasn't. It was just more like a fun Curb episode. Just a fun Curb episode.
It always takes them an episode of Curb in a new season to stop playing Curb and to just let the magic happen.
Yeah.
And it always takes one. The first one is always a little bit disappointing in that regard because you can tell they're trying to force it being Curb.
Yeah.
And then they settle in.
Yeah.
And then they're just
now they're good.
Tremendous.
Yeah. And the Funk Man
is a good episode
it's
for
a good
him?
episode for the Funk Man. Yeah.
Well, I mean, when
Funk
you carry
Man
that
Jr.
name,
yeah, you gotta bring it.
Like
you gotta throw heat.
El Hijo de Santo.
Absolutely. Speaking of throwing heat, the great Hoff will throw some heat coming up next. Get his take on what he saw, and what sense you can make of this league at the moment, because it is absolutely wild week to week what you are seeing from the scorer's perspective. The Joe Thomas Hour of Cleveland Browns Daily is up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Elk and Elk Serious Lawyers, serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO for your free case review. Elk and Elk is a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. And with that, we bring on the Hoff for the Joe Thomas Hour, the Cleveland Browns daily program. Look, Joe, this is a situation where, was it pretty? No, not necessarily, but it's a win. And if you look at the last 3 weeks in the NFL, those are not given. They're earned, and you take them, you get to 6-5. We'll go over the things that need to get fixed and addressed. But in terms of just doing what you're supposed to do, sometimes that's enough, isn't it, my man?
Yeah, that's right. It's the old saying, there's no pictures on your scorecard. And the most important thing coming out of this game was you wanted to get the victory so you could keep pace in the AFC North so that you could set up these next 2 games against the Ravens and give yourself an opportunity to come out of those. If you go 2-0, you're going to be feeling really good about yourself. So although the pictures, if they were on the scorecard, did not make everybody too happy.
Yeah.
But you know what? You were able to avoid the loss in a game where you didn't play great across the board, and you still kept everything in front of you. And I think that was the most important thing.
It was. You had to win, and you did. And we said all along, winning this game wasn't going to tell us really much. I don't think this game told us much other than we need to be better, which
Nick Chubb's good.
Which that the Patriots game told us. Yes, employee number 24 is very, very good. It really is just at the end of the day, you had to win, and you did. Bottom line, that's it. So when you do win a game like that, you watch the tape, and now you know what's ahead of you, right? You're on to the Baltimore Ravens, and that's all that matters. These 2 games over the course of 3 weeks with a bye in between, they will tell the tale for this season.
That's right. That's right. So sometimes winning and not playing well, you actually grow more from that than feeling like you played pretty well, because then sometimes you get stuff that gets glossed over. But being able to get the bottom line accomplished, 1-0, and then saying, all right, here's the things that we need to fix going into the most important part of our season, going into the most important 2-game stretch that we've seen in a while. If we want to be able to keep pace and give ourselves a chance to win this division, you're going to have to do it against the Ravens.
Yeah, you certainly are. There are some things that, you get to the bye week and you get healthy and you can do a big self-scout for the stretch run, and all those things are real and helpful. We saw that a year ago, Joe. But one thing that I think is going to be a challenge for this team going forward, and not reinventing the wheel with this statement, is, we really don't have much in terms of a downfield passing game. And it's hard to manufacture one. It's hard. There's not really anybody out there on the field and in the pass game that can stretch this defense out. So we are playing with compressed boxes. We are playing in a sandbox, it feels like, a lot, and you feel like you're running into a lot of people. And I don't know. I'll put that to you. What can you do to ease that other than just simply hit on some of those big throws? But honestly, the threats aren't there either. So it is kind of a situation where when people say, well, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? You're doing this because it's all that you have at this point, and this team does seem a little hamstrung in that perspective, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, just hitting those guys that are open down the field, that's the most important thing, because there's guys that are getting open. It's not like the receivers down the field are just blanketed in coverage all the time. So it's just about making those routine throws that you need to make, and I think that takes care of a big part of it. But how amazing is it that Nick Chubb rushes for 130 yards when you don't have the ability to stretch the defense and back the safeties up and force teams into 2 high looks? And I think one thing that hopefully will help coming back here pretty soon, Kareem Hunt. I don't get a chance to follow the injury situation as closely as other people, but he's always been a big part of that passing game. Not only what he can do with the screens, but you can get him out of the backfield, you can throw him the ball, and he can really hurt people that way, stretching him at least horizontally a little bit in the passing game and forcing teams to kind of decide a little bit more where you want to put your coverage. And so there's a little bit of hope inside of me saying, all right, let's get Kareem back, and our passing game is going to look a little bit more like it looked at the beginning of the season when we did have Chubb and Hunt, and we were more efficient throwing the football.
Yeah, we certainly hope that is, in fact, the case. I mean, I think 2 of the most astounding things about this game, you mentioned it, we were struggling to throw the ball, yet we ran for 184 yards and 5.1 yards a carry. They absolutely could not throw the ball. I mean, it was dreadful. And the fact that I look at it and it says he was 15 of 23, Tim Boyle, is staggering to me, because it felt like half of the balls were just going straight into the ground, and if they hadn't, they would have been pick sixes. They ran for 168 yards on 7.3 yards a carry against us. And that's back-to-back games, though, where our defense on the ground has not been great. I think you'd much rather be bad against the run and great against the pass going forward. But is there something to that as we get to these cold games, and we've got 2 with the Ravens, we've got another Joe Mixon, we've got another Najee Harris, we've got, a Josh Jacobs, we've got an A.J. Dillon still, maybe Aaron Jones is back by then for Green Bay on the schedule. Is that anything that you're worried about at all, Hoff?
Definitely concerned, right? What's the saying? The worries keep you up at night, concerns. I still sleep okay, but definitely you're going to play in the AFC North in December. You're going to hopefully be in the playoffs in January. You're going to run into some bad weather. There's no guarantee when it's going to be, but at some point you can count on it's going to be a nasty game that you're going to have to be able to stop the run, and you got to be able to run the football. So we got at least half of that taken care of, and maybe if you do get into those situations where it's like, all right, this team probably can't throw the football as well, you can put a little bit more resources towards the line of scrimmage to kind of eliminate the run game, and you can kind of focus a little bit more on some of those run stuffing blitzes where it's slot blitz or dogs from your linebackers. And you hope that will help you improve your run game defense. But certainly there's a lot of teams that potentially are going to be in the playoffs this season that are going to want to run the football on you if you run into them, especially if that's one of your problems on defense, because there's no defense for a perfect throw, and there's some guys in the AFC that can make those perfect throws. But if you got a team that's running the football, you got to be able to dial up a defense that can stop that run and force them to be one-dimensional.
Hoff, you hit on something earlier that I think is pretty critical, and maybe we haven't given it the attention it deserves, but the lack of the loss of Kareem Hunt.
Yes,
certainly not just what he does in keeping people fresh with Nick, but also in the pass game and everything. But he is such an emotional lift for this team, and he's such a bell cow in that way emotionally, and people just follow him. He brings so much energy. I mean, I felt it with him not there. You can feel it.
Yes.
And we also played a lot of games without Jarvis, and now you're talking about 2 of the most important emotional players on the entire football team that everybody follows. You played without him for long stretches. I feel not having Kareem on this team. Is there something to that? Emotionally, let alone on the field.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I think emotionally he provides such a boost, not only just for the offense but the defense, because of that attitude, the energy that he plays with on the sideline, especially typically that position is played by the quarterback, right? He's sort of like the steadying influence, but also maybe the energy guy, the guy that gives you the kick in the butt when you need it or the pat on the back, because they're an extension of the coach. And if your quarterback's not playing good football, then you need somebody else, or sometimes even a couple people, to kind of be able to fill that void and fill that gap. And without Kareem, you haven't had that quite as much. So I think that's maybe another optimistic thing to look forward to when Kareem does come back, to kind of maybe get that emotional burst, emotional boost that you need. And maybe it's Kareem and Jarvis, because Jarvis has kind of played that role a lot. But I think in the absence of the quarterback playing that role, it helps to have a couple guys on the offensive side of the ball. So maybe when Kareem's back, it's Joel, Kareem, and Jarvis, and they're kind of lifting everybody's spirits and energy when they need to in certain parts of the game. Because when you're going against a team like Detroit that's got no wins and it's a close game, it's just like a fan, right? It can easily kind of drag you down, and you can kind of feel sorry for yourself a little bit, like, what's going on? We're not playing well. And having Kareem back there and making a big run where he lowers his shoulder and he runs somebody over, like that lifts the sideline, and sometimes that helps you get through some of the adversity that you're facing when you're not playing your best football against a bad team.
Here we are. We've got these games left, 6 of them, 4 in the division. It starts with, we know, Sunday Night Football in Baltimore. And yet we have this offense that when you put on the tape, and you and I have talked about this, it should not, the statement I'm about to make should not be true. The Browns have been held to 17 or fewer points in 6 of their last 8 games. It just clearly should not be true. And yet it is. And mentally, what's going on in the locker room? Mentally, what's going on in these team meetings? Take us inside that, because I imagine that's a hard thing. Look at the Ravens, for example. They're battered, they're bruised, they're missing starters, key people, no Lamar, and they figure it out. They figure out whatever they got to do to win, it feels like, every single week, and yet the Browns have been very up and down in that regard. What's the mindset? How do you get out of that rut?
Well, it helps to have an emotional boost like we were talking about with Kareem, having somebody that can make a big play, that can get you fired up and kind of get you out of that rut a little bit. But I think it speaks to expectations, right? Just like fans, everyone's feeling crappy this morning. It's a victory Monday. Like, we should be so excited. Like, just a couple years ago, when I was there, we were 1-31 for a stretch, and any victory Monday would feel amazing. But you always want to try to manage expectations, because when you feel like the expectations are really high, like this year, Super Bowl, playoffs, AFC North champions, and you're not playing up to that, even though you're winning football games and you're putting yourself in a position that you can have a really great run here and feel really good about yourself going into the playoffs, you don't feel good about it. And it's like a wet blanket being thrown all over you, because emotionally you don't feel like you're living up to the expectations that you put on yourself. So I think as a team, the focus should be on the process. Coming in there, I just talked with Joel and Wyatt today, and just talking about, all right, this is the process. We're correcting the mistakes. We're starting to look forward to the Ravens. And that can give you hope and optimism, because you can kind of put maybe some of the things that you did poorly behind you when you go through that film session, but also make the corrections you need to, and then start building yourself up for, this is why we're going to beat the Ravens. And going into that game with a little chip on your shoulder, understanding, hey, we don't feel good right now, but you go in and you beat the Ravens on Sunday Night Football, and all of a sudden the narrative, your own narrative that you're telling yourself, the self-talk that you're going through every week, now all of a sudden you feel like, man, this is a different team. We got that energy, we got that hope, we got that optimism that you need if you want to go on a little bit of a run here at the end of November. Unlike some of the people that did the game over the weekend, you don't have to wait until the last game in November to get hot and go on a run in November.
You certainly do not. I love that. That is fantastic stuff from the Hoff right there. Pay attention to the scores. Hoff, one thing, Beau brought this up earlier on the show, and actually, you talked to me earlier about people saying that the Browns are intentionally throwing Baker.
No,
so that the
Hoff,
Hoff
I don't.
is somebody who's in the
Yeah,
lock.
I don't know if you've. There's been several people locally who, there's this thing, like, I don't know who's putting Baker out on the field as if he's being forced to play, and I just wanted to put an end to it, because, like, you're not getting on the field unless you're cleared by our medical staff and cleared is ready to go. There's no forcing anybody to play with injury. Baker's playing because he's healthy enough to play, period, and he's cleared by our medical staff. As a player, you would certainly know how that whole mechanism works to get on the field. Can you explain it to the people?
Well, yeah. I mean, one thing I do know about Baker is he's extremely tough. He has a high tolerance for pain, and that's why he's going out there, because he feels like he can be effective and he can play football. And so you have some of the best orthopedic surgeons, not just one, but like a group of them who are your medical team that are going to look at whatever injuries you have and say, in my experience, because I've been doing this a long time, and the references that I have in my phone book, we're talking about these injuries that you have, and I'm going to say, I have a great degree of confidence that you can go out and play well and be effective and not only protect yourself, but you can give our team the best chance to win. And then on top of that, what they're going to do is they're going to be at practice. They're going to watch you go and do your rehab, and they're going to see and make sure that operationally, mechanically, you're able to do what you need to do as a quarterback to throw the football. You need to be able to do the things that you need to do to run around. And so you have to pass that hurdle to be able to jump over it from a mechanical standpoint, throwing the football, but also running around, that they say, yes, I've seen enough that you can operate at an NFL level and be effective. Otherwise, they're not going to clear you. And I don't care how much you want to be out there. If you don't get cleared, like, it's, in the end, it's up to the medical staff to decide yay or nay. And it's on them to make sure that they were making the right decision. So they're not going to risk their careers that have been put together over many, many decades to try to put somebody out there that's not ready or that shouldn't be out there. So I think that's kind of crazy to have people buying into that.
It is. And on top of that, let's not forget, he practiced Thursday and Friday. He did not carry an injury designation into this game. He wasn't listed as questionable. He wasn't listed as, which is the only thing you could be, either you're questionable, doubtful, or out. There's no such thing as probable anymore, which is probably what he would have been in the old days. But you can't, you know what it's like to not practice and play. He practiced Thursday and Friday and had no injury designation going into this game. If you get caught doing that and there truly is a reason for an injury designation that he should have been questionable, you can get fined. There are consequences with the NFL. Now, Tom Brady kept things secret last year that he needed that knee surgery, but he played and nobody was questioning anything because he was playing at a high level.
Right.
Yeah, you're exactly right. If you hide an injury from people, then you can be fined, you can be suspended, you can lose draft picks. It's pretty serious stuff, especially with the betting implications. That's really why they do that. It's not for some competitive advantage or disadvantage over your opponent. It's so that the bettors are somewhat on an equal playing field about who's going to play and who's not going to play. And I think the stakes are raised even higher now that there's legalized gambling on sports in most of the country. So I don't really see that as a thing. And on top of that, the only reason you would conceal an injury is if people didn't know about it. That would be concealing. Everybody knows about Baker's injury, so there's no concealing an injury because everybody knows how banged up he's been getting, and they know all about it. So whether you put him on an injury report or not is not going to fool your opponent. So I think that's an argument that holds no water.
Just say, though, if you can practice on Thursday and Friday, typically that's a pretty good sign for your ability to play a football game. I mean, it's not being forced out there. It's not. Aaron Rodgers isn't practicing. He's not going to practice, and he's going to go play. That's a significant thing that he's going through, and Baker is tough, and he is gutting it out. But the idea that this is being made into something that is totally debilitating, he was frustrated yesterday because he probably doesn't feel great. I don't know, Hoff knows way better than I as a guy that went through it and played through a ton of injuries. Nobody feels great at this time of the year. He's mad. He didn't execute on a lot of easy throws that he normally does. And if he did, this is probably a very different ball game and a very different feeling on this Monday.
Yeah, exactly. You could sense the frustration because he feels like he's healthy enough to play and to play well, and he didn't do that. I mean, that's to me the sign of a competitor is the guy that points the finger at himself first, right? You look at the mirror after a game. Nobody's ever perfect. The team could always do more to help you, but the frustration a lot of times comes because you feel like you didn't do enough for your team. And I think that's a good thing, right? You don't want a guy that's out there, well, I did a great job. I just throw everybody else under the bus. And I think to your point about practicing, there's plenty of guys throughout the NFL. I mean, I didn't practice my last 2 years in the NFL because I only had about 60 plays in me every week with my knee. And you're either going to get it on Wednesday and Thursday, and then I was going to be out Sunday, or you're going to get it on Sunday. And so the medical staff is going to look at Baker and say, he's healthy enough not only to play on Sundays, but to practice during the week. And that's the practice that he needs. He's a younger quarterback. He needs to be out there with the guys to get into the rhythm, to get in the flow, to see the looks that he's going to see on Sunday. And it's really important for him to do that. And you mentioned like an Aaron Rodgers who maybe doesn't need as much practice. And so he's able to rest and try to get healthier throughout the week. But clearly, if Baker's practicing during the week and then playing on Sunday, he's more than healthy enough to play good football when the time comes.
Joe, I think if you ask Kevin Stefanski like the most like stats that he's most interested in, and things that are part of the bedrock of what he built here in year one is trying to continue to build in year two, I would imagine third down efficiency would be one of them, and I would imagine penalties would be one of them. And I would imagine he'd want to be really efficient on third down, be part of everything he's about, and I would imagine he'd want to be one of the least penalized teams in the league.
Yes.
Yesterday, continuing a trend, 5 of 13 on third down, 10 penalties for 82 yards. How do we explain, and this isn't isolated to this week. This has been kind of a trend for the last several weeks that we're seeing here.
Yeah, it's the unforced errors, which we heard a lot about that over the weekend, if you watched the telecast. But it's those things that take no talent. That's the things that when you're struggling as a team to kind of find direction, you feel like you're not living up to expectations. Those are the first things you need to look at. All right, what did I do that my opponent did not force? Okay, penalties, turnovers, focus errors, ball security issues, when you're fumbling the football, when you're making poor decisions on where to throw the football, or the timing of certain things as an offensive lineman, like, hey, I should have taken this guy instead of that guy and got my quarterback killed. Like, those are the things that you can't have. And when not a lot of things are going well, it's really important to be able to focus back and kind of ground yourself in, all right, as a team, we want to be a smart football team that doesn't beat ourselves. Therefore, the number one thing we need to take care of is penalties and turnovers. And when we feel like those are things we can control and we can minimize, now we can start thinking about biting off some of the bigger pieces of that apple. Like, all right, now we need to work on X, Y, and Z to kind of continue to make progress to becoming a better football team.
Well said, sir. Coming up next, we'll hand out our game balls. We'll go around another wacky weekend in the NFL a little bit later on. It is the Joe Thomas Hour of Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Gambling without setting limits on how much you're going to wager or how long you'll play is like a football team going into a game without a game plan. Probably going to end up in a loss. Always set limits before you bet. Get some more tips like this at keepitfunohio.com as we continue with the Joe Thomas Hour of Cleveland Browns Daily. Here in the last, we'll get back to ours in a second. Real quick, Hoff, I want to get your take on this. I see there's a new USFL league that is launching as part of the Fox television group owned by Fox Sports. The teams are the Michigan Panthers, the Birmingham Stallions. So a lot of these are the old USFL teams. New Jersey Generals, Houston Gamblers, New Orleans Breakers, Philadelphia Stars, Pittsburgh Maulers, and Tampa Bay Bandits. So, again, spring football will go. Nathan and I were talking off air. One thing I'm always fascinated by this is how you choose the cities for this. And I think about, like, how the struggle in New Orleans, for example, from a corporate dollar standpoint to support profession. I mean, it's tough for them with the Saints and the Pelicans. let alone adding another one into the mix. And there are so many markets that don't have, professional football in them. You just wonder if they pick the right markets here.
I just don't understand how many times we're going to try this, minor league football thing and have it fail. I was actually just talking with Andrew Siciliano last week after Thursday Night Football, and he did some of the play-by-play stuff for, I don't know if it's USFL. I have a hard time keeping up on all the different leagues and stuff. But he said he still hasn't gotten paid for doing it. And so I'm wondering, how many times, I'm wondering how many times these leagues are going to continue to attract people to show up and work when so often these things fold in the middle of the season, then nobody gets paid.
I think the only way that would ever work, guys, honestly, is I'm interested to see what The Rock does with the XFL.
Yep.
I think I'm interested because he's a promoter. Everything he does is gold. The only other thing that I think the surefire way would be if the NFL subsidized the league as a developmental minor league.
Yep.
But they won't do that because they already have the best minor league system in the world in college football.
That's right. Yeah, when they had NFL Europe, I heard that the league was losing like $1 million per team. And at the time, they really wanted to try to develop some of these guys, and they felt like it was really important to develop the game overseas, so they were willing to make that investment. But football's expensive. I mean, the broadcast, the players, feeding them, the training staffs, the equipment staffs, the size of the rosters, there's a lot that goes into it. And if you're not getting a lot of ticket revenue and you're not getting a lot of TV dollars, it's hard to justify because you're probably going to lose money. And like you mentioned, they already have the best minor league system in all pro sports because it's college football. And so they really don't need to develop guys the way they maybe thought. And they feel like overseas, NFL Europe, that market maybe is already kind of developed as much as you can by putting teams over there. And they're just kind of happy to take Jacksonville and whoever else once a year over there and play a real NFL games in London and various different areas.
I do wonder if a second run at NFL Europe would work from the standpoint of, much like Major League Soccer now has worked here and is thriving in this country. I wonder if because the world's gotten smaller and more people are aware of the sport. You got to remember in NFL Europe, that's early 90s, right? At that point, you just didn't have access to sports the way you do now. You weren't able to follow it the way you are now.
Right.
And I think MLS is a good example of that, or watch it. I mean, now you can watch any soccer game you want, whenever you want, no matter where you live. And I do wonder if NFL Europe would have another shot at success now, not to the extent of it would be some rivalry to the NFL or even the European soccer leagues, but it seems like there's enough fans over there that if you had a 12-team European league, that there would be an ability to do it and have some success, and that the NFL could be a part of it. But who knows? I'm with you. It's hard to imagine a spring one working. All right, let's get back into ours and the game balls. Hoff, who gets your offensive game ball?
Chubb. 130 yards, 22 carries. He seals the game at the end. This might be the easiest one of all time because he was the reason you won this game, and there wasn't a whole bunch of other bright spots on the offensive side of the football.
He's so good. He's just so good. And, Joe, honestly, if not for at least 2 holding calls were runs of over 10 yards, he would have been upwards of 160.
Yeah, he's doing things a lot like Jonathan Taylor is if you watched any of the Colts this past weekend, where you've got these big backs. They can see the hole, they can accelerate through the hole, and then they've got the home run speed to become true home run hitters, which I think so many people had moved away from the running game because it was hard to get explosive plays in the running game. It's not like there's a lot of Barry Sanderses out there, and it's really difficult to go 4 or 5 yards all the way down the field like you used to do maybe in the 90s because everybody on the other side is scoring a lot of points. But when you have a guy like Chubb or Jonathan Taylor or when Derrick Henry was playing, and he's a legitimate home run threat, he's an explosive play threat, you can feel like you can turn around and hand the ball off because you can actually score a lot of points in that manner, and you can keep up with high-flying offenses even when you are running the football and you're going against a guy like a Patrick Mahomes.
Joe, just to give the alma mater a little boost here, how many people do you think out there listening are aware of Jonathan Taylor's rushing statistics at Wisconsin?
Everybody?
I hope.
At Wisconsin, at least.
At Wisconsin, they are. For the people out here,
super stud.
He was, but I don't think people realize it because he never won the Heisman, and usually you do stats like this, you win the Heisman. He ran for 1977 as a true freshman.
Yards, yeah.
He ran for 2194 as a
Yep.
sophomore and 2003. He finished with 6,174 yards and 50 touchdowns in his career at Wisconsin.
Yeah.
In 3 years.
And what he
Yeah, I mean,
wasn't
that's amazing
fast.
for
What
him.
was the knock on him?
Second-round pick.
Yeah.
The knock on him was just that running backs aren't valued to be first-round picks because he ran on the track team at Wisconsin. He's like a 10-300 guy at 235 or whatever. Incredible human being, hard worker, like A+ on all the character stuff. But I would say maybe the one knock outside of just people don't value running backs anymore is he wasn't a real big pass catcher, but he's really worked hard on that and gotten a lot better at it. And he had a receiving touchdown in the game over the weekend. Yeah.
And he's on the Mrs. fantasy team. What a crud.
What do you have, 5 touchdowns in the game?
That's right. Yes, he
Yeah,
had 5. I saw
Yeah.
a stat last
He had
night.
over 50 points.
Yeah, he had 5 last night. Eckler had 4. They had 9 together. All other running backs in the NFL through the Sunday night game had 13 touchdowns. And those two had 9.
Just to put into perspective his college career, he's 6th all-time in NCAA rushing yards despite having only played 3 years. So if he played the all-time is Ron Dane, another Wisconsin guy. He's almost exactly 1,000 yards behind Ron Dane. If he plays his senior season and just goes with his average, he would have broken the NCAA rushing record by 1,000 yards. 1,000 yards.
Yep.
That's what he did. So he was ridiculous there. Absolutely ridiculous. See who gets your offensive game ball.
I'm going to give it to Joel Bitonio because Joel, Pro Football Focus, giving him a 90.9 on the week, one of the top marks in the league. He was just dynamic as a run blocker, but Joel's also such a darn good pass blocker, and Baker Mayfield was kept clean a ton in this game. 33 pass blocking snaps for Joel Bitonio, 0 pressures allowed. I should also point out that Treader did not allow a pressure in this game. Neither did Wyatt Teller. 1 for Jed Wills and Blake Hance, 2, but no pressures allowed. So I'm going to give it to Joel Bitonio. I want to say this again, though, but this is something to think about. Baker Mayfield was kept clean on 80% of his dropbacks in this one. If we can do that consistently, he will hit those throws. I have no doubt about that.
Your game ball on defense, Hoff.
That was a little tougher, but I'll go with Anthony Walker. He led the team with 8 tackles. Pretty solid there. The Lions were running the football a little bit, but I think that overall, middle of the defense was pretty solid in this game, so I'll go with Walker.
Dr. Z.
Denzel Ward, and not that these were, this was a battle of a couple interesting receiving cores. Certainly only Jarvis Landry with a Pro Bowl berth amongst either team's receivers in this one. But the fact is he has come up with some big plays for us. In each of the last 2 wins, he's recorded an interception. They targeted him 1 time all game. So he was basically like Dion. They didn't throw it to 21's way. When they did, he turned it into an interception.
By the way, just as I was looking this up on for Jonathan Taylor, Wisconsin has 5 of the top 50 all-time running backs in NCAA history. 5 of the top 50
because they
played at Wisconsin. 20, and they're all in the last 20 years off. Every one of them's in the last 20 years. Who was your guy? Who did you block for?
So my rookie year, I blocked for my first couple years, my freshman and sophomore year, it was Anthony Davis, who was a pretty good running back. I want to say he was, maybe 5th all time in the Big Ten.
He's 47th all time now. He's the 5th one.
Okay. Yep. And then Brian Calhoun was there for, I want to say, a year. And then P.J. Hill, my last couple years at Wisconsin. So a solid group of running backs, but nobody that was in the Jonathan Taylor or Ron Dame hemisphere.
Yeah, it's incredible. Monty Ball had 5,100 yards there.
Monty Ball. I thought he was
Melvin
so
Gordon
good.
had almost 5,000 yards there.
Melvin Gordon.
Yeah,
still
they had
is good.
dudes. They have dudes.
So would the Mount Rushmore of modern Wisconsin football be Hoff,
Dane,
J.J. Watt, Dane,
Ron Dane, and Barry?
Okay.
That'd be my – what do you think, Hoff? Who'd be the 4?
I mean, I like those. I'm on there, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
There's
Barry's
some good offensive linemen, but
You're talking about the
but
coach?
Barry's definitely
Barry's the George Washington. Like he's
Yeah.
starts here and then
And then to those 3, the Hoff, J.J. Watt, and Ron Dane.
Yeah, I mean,
those are the most decorated guys. Obviously, Ronnie won the Heisman, and JJ had an incredible career, and I won the Outland first one in program history. So I think that's pretty strong. I mean, Jonathan was amazing,
Jonathan Taylor's,
but he didn't get the recognition I feel like that he deserved for whatever reason. When he was
I think it was because Ohio State he was there when Ohio State had Ezekiel Elliott and J.K. Dobbins, and Ohio State beat them, in those games, and so it was.
Yeah.
He was, and by the way, those Ohio State backs were close to 2,000 yards. Zeke ran for 1,800. J.K. Dobbins ran for close to 2,000. So when all that was going on, he just was, unfortunately for him, it was just overshadowed by the Ohio State guys. We will go around the league coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Rumpke Waste Recycling, family owned and operated. Whether you join them as a customer or as an employee, you'll be part of the family. Visit www.rumpke.com to learn more. Joe, big picture before we get to the Ravens, just around the league, third straight week of this, man, where there's just absolute mayhem in terms of what is happening. Houston, a 10-point dog and winning at Tennessee. Tennessee had been flying high to that point. The Colts were a 7-point favorite, absolutely drilled the Bills in a game there. We've had the Washington football team now win back-to-back games that are pretty crazy to see. Arizona's won a couple of games with Colt McCoy now, including winning at Seattle. Dallas, coming off of scoring 1,000 points the previous week, can't do anything against Kansas City. When you're observing this league and you're spending the time on Thursday on the pregame show trying to talk about it, how do you make sense of this?
The only way I can make sense of it is just saying that the league has become so matchup dependent, and it goes on one of the conversations we had maybe last week or the week before that is it's such a different game today where there's so many different schemes and there's so much more space out on the football field because of the different concepts people are employing in the run game and the pass game between play action pass, run and shoot, inside zone, outside zone, traps. I mean, so much is happening that the margin of success and failure on any play or even any one-on-one battle is so much greater than it used to be. And on top of that, there's more parity than there's ever been. And so it's much easier to get these games like you saw where Tennessee gets smoked by the Texans. And you're like, how does that even happen? Right? But it's like our matchup in this specific area is just not great against them. And they were able to exploit it before we had a chance to fix it. And pretty soon you walk out of there and the Texans beat the Titans 22-13. And so I think you're just seeing a lot more of that versus the old school NFL, which was much more lineup, run stuff that we run, you guys run the stuff you run, and everybody kind of knows roughly what the outcome is going to be because when everybody kind of knows what the other person is doing, it's much more of a, hey, me versus you, and you know that as long as your guy's not dealing with something crazy with his family or just not into it with his head on that game, you're going to probably know the outcome. It's like the game of Risk. You ever play the board game Risk?
Of course.
You got all those dice in your hand. You got all those dice in your hand. You're going to roll it. You're probably going to beat that guy who's only got one of his little characters on the board. But as soon as you got 6 on 6, you don't know what's going to happen. And I think that's kind of the analogy that I'll use for today's NFL.
Ukraine was always so key.
The Ukraine was key.
Yeah, you got to have the Ukraine.
Hoff, you ever play the farming game?
No, what's that game?
Oh, boy, do we have a treat. I got a treat for you, my friend.
Man.
You're going to like the farming game. That's going to be, a man of your background, this is right up your alley.
It's right up my alley.
I'm gonna tell you what, you're gonna love this. I'm gonna make this happen for you real quickly. Go ahead. You can talk about the Ravens. I'm interested in getting the farming game to the Hoff now.
I love it. I love that focus. He should have the farming game. Hoff, when we talk about things like momentum and we talk about things like clutch meter and all of these things that seem nebulous, and nobody said, well, anybody who's played sports knows that they're real. How do the Ravens keep doing this? How do they game in? I mean, they could easily have 3 wins on the season if you go through the games that they were getting shellacked in. And yet they find a way to make a play, whether it's forcing Clyde Edwards-Helaire to fumble up 1 against the Chiefs when the Chiefs were in field goal range, whether it's the longest field goal in history following a 4th and 19 against the Lions, whether it's the furious comeback against the Indianapolis Colts, whether it's yesterday where Huntley, who had not really been able to muster anything on offense, leads them down for a touchdown at the end of the game when they need it. And they scored 22 seconds left, and he hit Sammy Watkins for 30 yards on, I think, a 4th and 11 or 3rd and 11, whatever it was. How do they do that as an organization? What do you attribute that to? Because the people change, and I know coaching and culture and all that stuff matters, but players play. Players have to execute. Players have to deliver in those moments.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that gets built, I think, over time through practice. And when you have a special player like a Lamar Jackson or when New England had Tom Brady, it just builds a belief and an energy and a focus, I think, throughout the organization, because you're like, hey, we got this dude who's really good on the other side playing quarterback for us, and as long as I don't screw it up, he's going to give us a chance, and more likely than not, he's going to go down and win the game. And so you get in your mind like, I don't want to be the reason we lose. Like, so I think that raises the level of focus, that raises your level of preparation. And I know that Lamar didn't play in this game, but when you're constantly winning those close games, you start to get a belief in yourself. And anytime you believe that something's going to happen, you're more likely to give the effort, the focus, the intensity that it needs to get that thing done. And I think I made the fishing analogy the other day. If I cast into my pond and I really believe it's going to work, I'm going to work that bait a little bit more. When I'm sitting in my tree stand and I believe that deer is going to come out, I'm going to focus more on looking at every little stick and every little twig that walks past, because I think that's the deer. That's what's going to happen in my mind. And it's the same thing when you're, let's say, a receiver and you got a great quarterback. You're thinking, man, I better run this route perfect, because as soon as I turn around, the ball's going to be there and it's going to be my chance to win the game. And the opposite is true when you don't have those great players, especially as those key positions. So I think the Ravens specifically, when they've had Lamar, but they've also combined it with great coaching, it builds into the culture and the fabric of your team a belief that no matter what happens, we're going to find a way down the stretch to win.
Hoff, most importantly, what are we doing Thanksgiving?
Oh, baby, I can't wait. Having the family, my side of the family's coming out to the farm. Daddy's in charge of the turkey and the Brussels sprouts, which I'm very excited about. Never really liked Brussels sprouts much till I retired and started cooking them myself. And oh my gosh, I love them now. They're my favorite vegetable.
What are you doing? How do you do your Brussels?
I'm more interested in how he's doing the bird.
Let's hold on a second. Everybody does a bird. You're transforming a turkey. Okay, fine.
Yeah. So I used to deep fry the whole bird, but that kind of takes a lot more babysitting, and I want to make sure that I got plenty of time to watch football and drink wine and maybe some bourbon and some beer and eat all the delicious appetizers that Mrs. Thomas is making. So I decided, all right, you know what? A couple years ago, I did a sous vide. I did like a couple breasts and some wings, and it turned out great. And it's so simple and easy, and you can do it ahead of time. So I'm not stealing any of the appliances from Mama. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sous vide the bird. And then the Brussels sprouts, which are fun, I cut up a pound of bacon into little tiny pieces. And then I lay them down on a baking sheet. And then I start them in the oven, get all the delicious fats rendering and stuff on the bottom. And then I take my Brussels sprouts and put them in the oven for like 6 minutes so they get soft, whole Brussels sprouts. Then I take them out and I take the bottom side of a mason jar and I put all the Brussels sprouts on top of the bacon that's already started cooking. And then I just smash all those Brussels sprouts individually. So you get like these flattened little like mini pancake Brussels sprouts because they've already been softened.
See, I'm glad I know this
seasoning. Oh yeah, bunch of seasoning on top of that, and then you mix all that together with like a couple tongs or spatulas, and so you get the bacon fat all over it. You get all the delicious pieces of bacon in there. You can even do like brisket trimmings. We're not doing a brisket, but if I was doing a brisket, I would smoke the brisket trimmings and then I would dice them up and do that. And then my favorite thing is right at the end, if you're a balsamic vinegar person,
of course,
you can drizzle that on the top.
Aged 18 years,
or,
just the way I like. Let's
love
go.
it. Or, because this really gets the kids to eat it, I take maple syrup and I drizzle the whole thing with maple syrup, finish it for 3-4 minutes, kind of caramelizes with that bacon fat, and it is amazing. Even the kids eat the Brussels sprouts when I do it.
So do they
that.
come out like almost like a mash, or does it come out like an individual flattened disc that has like a crispy front but in the fat?
The second one. The one you want.
Yes,
that's exactly
that is what I want.
Yeah.
Oh my.
That's exactly what you want.
Well,
my
Hoff,
word.
We're thankful for you. We know you got to run. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family, buddy.
Happy Thanksgiving to you guys. It's the most wonderful time of the year. I know that's usually Christmas. It's still a moniker, but who doesn't love sitting around watching 3 football games and drinking and eating all day? That's pure joy.
Andy Dalton, Tim Boyle. Thanksgiving.
Yo, let's go. Let's go. All right, guys. Thanks again. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you too.
What a human.
Much more to come. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Beau here for my friends at Raising Cane's, and stop by Cane's this Thanksgiving season. Enjoy hand-battered, cooked-ordered chicken fingers with the Peanuts Gang. Visit RaisingCanesGear.com to purchase a limited edition Peanuts t-shirt. Nets proceeds will be donated to Canine Companions. That is a mission to provide trained assistance dogs to people with disabilities. It's awesome, awesome cause. And if you're looking for a place to have a little fun while working hard, Raising Cane's is hiring. You can visit workatcanes.com or text RC Jobs to 97211. Raising Cane's, a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics. Go Bucks. It's Michigan week.
Oh, boy.
Cover City. I saw it at 8. Are you kidding me? 8?
What about 49-0 at the half this week against a top 10 team?
Squad.
I think some Buckeyes will join us this week.
Oh, fun.
Are they winning at all?
They can. Them in Georgia. I mean, they can. Yeah, for sure.
Are they? Are you planting the flag?
It's a lot of pressure. It's early.
They have 3 wide receivers who will all be number 1 draft picks in this league, and you can't cover them. And they got a kid at tailback who's going to be a first round.
Jimmy
pick.
Wilson, I'm all in.
Whew, he's filthy.
I'm all
Absolutely
in.
filthy. What do you got tonight? Giants Bucks.
I don't even know what the line is. I don't
10
care.
and a half. Tommy, ram it.
G-man.
Really?
Yeah.
Opposite. All right. Bad
Just
week
to get
for
inside
scores.
the number. It wasn't a bad week.
It
You're
was
like
a
at
bad week.
500.
Terrible. You hate it. We're back tomorrow for more fun. Next Level's next. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.